Hi, this is Regina White Favors with Homeless Recovery Tips. So, the topic today is the homeless shelter as being a correction tool. And I think the important thing to consider that I sort of note in all of my recovery tips in terms of homeless recovery tips is that the homeless shelter is not your home. It is not it is not a place that you need to set up camp. Do you need to give consideration to the time frame that you are afforded? So, for instance, um, if you enter a shelter that only has emergency available and that's good for 30 days, then that gives you some time to plan. And then you could have some shelters that have beds for 90 days. And then you can have programs, specific types of programs that they will offer you, depending upon your particular situation, especially if you have like a substance abuse issue. Most shelter programs are centered on rehabilitation of some sort. Some shelter programs are used as a tool for people just getting out of prison and they are sent there as a kind of like halfway house, 3 months until they have to leave. And sometimes it can be longer. But understand that the homeless shelter is not your home. Do you need to have respect for it as if it was your home? Sure, yes, because you are up under a different authority. And so you have to come in at a certain time. You have to go to bed at a certain time. You can only use the showers at a certain time. You have a set space that you are afforded, right? But it's no guarantee as well. It's not your home. But if you look at the homeless shelter as being a correction tool, think about it in terms of why are you here? What did you do somewhere in your 20s or your 30s or your 40s, right? Depending upon your current age. What did you do or not do at a certain time in your life that should have been a preparation time that has put you now in a homeless shelter for whatever reason? For whatever reason. Sometimes you becoming homeless may not be any fault of your own in terms of maybe your house. You were part of say you were in California and there were wildfires and they reached your neighborhood, right? Um, that is really truly no fault of your own, right? I mean, you still could think to yourself at the same time, why would you move to an area that is prone for wildfires? That is it is known that wildfires happen in that area. So there is some level of responsibility that you may have to take. Then that is your correction. That is your self correction. That is your reflection on your decision making. You decided to build a home or purchase a home in an area that is known for wildfires. And one day, maybe years, for many years, it passed by your house, but one year it decided not to pass by your house and it burned your house. Okay, sure, you may have some insurance and you could take out insurance and get paid back for it, but you do have to take some kind of responsibility for making that type of decision. Uh, um, some time ago, some many years ago, there were houses built in Malibu, and they were built on some sort of stilts or something. I don't know what the terminology is, but one day there was a problem with the water, and they were built very close to the water, to the ocean, and those houses literally uh, fell into the ocean. They came off the stilts and they fell into the ocean, and that was it. And you have to ask yourself, as much as you want a house on the ocean, on the beach, and it's fancy and it's cost you a lot of money, why would you build it using that sort of maybe antiquated technology? Maybe you should have poured concrete. I don't know. I don't know the housing, real estate development technology to really be credible here. But it still goes back to your decision making, right? And so when you are in the homeless shelter, that is not the time for you to look around and see and ask why everyone else is there and what they're doing there, and having sort of a mocking attitude towards them. The time is for you to ask you why are you here? How is it that you got here? I know that I got to the homeless shelter because I did not plan well. I might have had access to finances, but I didn't see future. I might have been in college, but I didn't plan for exit. And so my situation happened when I was getting out of college. I was just graduated, and then during the time that I was making my transition, it was right along the time or just pre financial recession. And then I was able to get a job, stayed on that job, and then the recession hit and I lost my job. And maybe had I, during the times that I was on a job, saved for when maybe I didn't have a job, I might not have been homeless, right? And so sometimes you have to look at the fact that you are not thinking ahead, that there's no guarantee of any job anymore. We are not in the same mindset of our parents and the parents before them, where you can stay on a job for 25 years and you can collect a pension and you can retire and still have money and have social security, and the job was basically a guarantee and it was your job to lose. And as long as you showed up and you did your job, you had that job for 25 years. Companies don't do that anymore. Is first of all, they don't always give you full-time hours, because then they would have to pay health insurance. So you don't have the same types of advantages and benefits that you had, that your parents had. That means that you have to be much more cognizant of financial management and financial planning, because whatever was afforded to your parents and their generations and their ancestors before them is not going to be the same for you today. Most jobs are now going remote. That means also you are managing your own healthcare costs. So that means you're going to have to pay out of pocket much more, because the jobs are not always offering. There's always a stable pool of employees that are full time and that will always have some access to benefits, but there's no guarantee. Even I teach at the college level, and even and it's at the community college level. It used to be that you could teach there, renew your contract every 3 years. Now, the contract is renewable only 1 year at a time. And then, based upon however many years you've been working there, say you work there for 5 years to full time, then it can be renewable in maybe 2 to 3 increments. But even in that system, even in the education system, it is making a lot of overhaul changes. So, when you're thinking about the homeless shelter, think about it as very temporary. It doesn't matter what the program is in terms of how long you can stay there. Anything could change. Anything, if you are getting, right now, we are having a border issue. And so we're getting a lot of migrants who are crossing the border. And many states are creating makeshift homeless shelters for them. And with some form of bedding and everything. And that's all by government grant based, maybe some donor dollars. Whereas your regular American self could have gone into a homeless shelter in your time of need. It may be closed off to you today because of the migrant crisis, because of the border crisis. You may not have the same access. So that means that if you were in a homeless shelter some years ago and you got out of it because you didn't like the rules, you may not be able to circle back to that opportunity again in this current year. And we are about to go into 2023. You may not have the same opportunity. That's why when you are in the opportunity, whatever the opportunity is, whether they give you a month, 3 months, 6 months, 18 months to 2 years, maybe extend that time. Whatever opportunity they are giving you, that is your correction opportunity. That is your opportunity to really think about what's going on, what's going on with me. Why am I in this situation? What did I do? What did I do wrong? Where did I stretch my time? Where am I burned out? Where am I thin? and how many times I keep volunteering parts of my life to help others when I have not even secured my own life financially. Financially, that is the most important thing that you have to understand, that you have every right to set financial boundaries. If you're homeless, it is because on some level you did not set financial boundaries. Maybe you felt guilty for the type of money that you have. Maybe you felt guilty because you are a saver, and maybe because the person who keeps asking you for money is not a saver, and you are having some compassion and some mercy. Well, you may have to stop your compassion and your mercy on that person, because showing too much compassion and mercy on that person is leaving you homeless. That's your correction tool right there, is you thinking about how much compassion and mercy I'm having on somebody, how much uh, volunteering of my finances that I'm giving away. How much am I not securing myself and making myself a priority to be sure that I have my rent 1 month in advance, preferably 3 months in advance, leading towards saving for a emergency savings fund. So there is never a guarantee that what you have now you will be able to keep. Remember, we had the pandemic. No one thought for 1 minute that the pandemic would take us off jobs and keep us in the homes and not making money and struggling. And now we have a stream of evictions. There was a great moratorium on evictions, but now they have started back up. So this is something that you need to think about when you're sitting in a homeless shelter and you are sitting at the dinner table, the breakfast table. Look around, think about all the people that are around you, but most importantly, think about yourself. What's going on with you? How is it that you got to this particular situation? When you have to go to bed, you are usually in bunk beds. So that means you have to climb your older self into a bunk bed because they have to make room for other people. Okay, you could injure yourself, you could hurt yourself, and then remember, you don't have insurance, health insurance, to take care of that injury, but you are your older self climbing into a bunk bed. That's what kids do. Those are for kids, but you are doing this as an adult. And then when you are forced to leave out early morning, you have to get up at 4 a.m. and then you are forced to leave out after eating breakfast, and then you are out all day until you can return sometime around 3 o'clock, 2:30, 3 o'clock. Okay, what are you doing with yourself? Even 30 days is still some form of planning time. You can put some application in at somewhere, whatever the application is. It could be for social services, it can be for any types of benefits or whatever. And if you have access to any funds, get a PO box, and so that you can be sure that you can receive your mail. So regardless, look at the homeless shelter as a correction tool. It is something that you didn't do somewhere in your life that has now caught up with you, and you are now in a state of homelessness. And whatever that time period is, it's up to you to understand how long that is, and based upon your experiences. So, this is Homeless Recovery Tips. The homeless shelter is a correction tool.